The president is warning you not to become a Panican. That is apparently, in his words, a new political party based on weak and stupid people. What I say is, in a world of Panicans, be a Panicant. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. A woman has gone viral and even been featured on Good Morning America for complaining about the end of her maternity leave. And her impulse is so right, and what she's doing is so wrong. We'll get to that in one moment. First, though, I want to tell you about Fast Growing Trees. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com, use code Knowles. Did you know that Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the U.S. with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers? They have all the plants your yard needs: fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, so much more. Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees has you covered. Find the perfect fit for your climate and space. Plus, Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. Order online, get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. Get support from trained plant experts on call to help you plan your landscape, choose the right plants, and more importantly, learn how to care for them. Right now, this spring, they have the very best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. Listeners to our show will get 15% off. I did not stutter. I did not misspeak. You will get 15% off your first purchase when you use code Knowles at checkout. That is an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using code Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S. Now is the perfect time to plant. Use code Knowles to save today. Offers valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. The big news this morning, who knows? By the time you're listening, if you're watching this live, then this is real news. If you're listening to this 1 hour after I record it, if you're listening to this 5-6 hours after I record it, who knows what the stock market is going to look like. But right now, the stock market has rallied. Dow futures were up 1,100 points, I think. The NASDAQ 100 was up 2.5%. S&P 500 futures were roughly about 2.5% up. So don't be a Panican. What is a Panican? A Panican is a member of the political party that panics all the time. I'm not panicking. Do you see me panicking? I'm not panicking. The main takeaway for over the past few days, as you've seen pundits and analysts and chattering heads freaking out over the tariffs, my biggest takeaway is knowing with certainty exactly which public figures are overexposed in equities. That's my big takeaway. And I don't mean to be glib about the market downturn. A market downturn can seriously harm people. If we do enter into a recession, a global recession, that could harm people. However, remember, deep breath, you only lose money when you sell. The only 2 times that the price of a stock should ever concern you are when you buy and when you sell. It goes up and down, and the little colors are moving up and down on the chart. It doesn't affect you really at all. I mean, if the company goes out of business, I guess that would affect you too. But as of now, nobody's really lost any money. And on an even more serious point, weren't we conservatives the ones who were saying that the market was inflated under Biden? Weren't we the ones saying that the market was artificially high and the underlying economic realities really didn't support those high stock prices? And furthermore, aren't we conservatives the ones who have said that the real deep underlying economic realities that we've seen over the past 20, 30 years are really not good for Americans? Because yes, we have more services bought and sold in America now. Maybe GDP ticks up a little bit, but we've hollowed out our manufacturing base. We are now extraordinarily reliant on hostile foreign powers. The minute that the Wu flu comes out from China and our supply chains get disrupted, we can't buy anything because we don't have anything anymore. Haven't we been talking about that in both parties for 30 years? So what Trump is doing is making a move for a generational win. Here's what he tweets out. The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a Panican. A new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. Now, we'll see how this goes. It is entirely possible that this doesn't work out. It sends us hurtling into a global recession. Republicans get completely destroyed in the midterms. A Republican never wins election again. It's all possible. Okay? But Trump's gut has been pretty good so far. He won re-election with a mandate to do something different, something much like this. I would just say, channeling my inner spiritual Zoomer, let him cook. Okay, let him cook a little bit. See what he whips up in the kitchen. I understand that the market volatility is insane. Yesterday, there was a rumor, totally unsubstantiated, that started going around social media. I think by way of Kevin Hassett, the director of the National Economic Council, who said that Trump was considering a pause on tariffs. And so the market had been tanking. This completely unsubstantiated rumor from a Trump economic advisor comes out. Market shoots through the roof. Then the White House clarifies, says, no, we're not pausing the tariff. Market goes down again. But then, hey, you wait a few hours and the market's up. It's like they say about the weather in Iceland. You don't like the weather? Wait 15 minutes. Trump was in the Oval Office yesterday with Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. He was asked about the tariff pause directly. No uncertainty in his answer.
Would you be open to a pause in tariffs to allow for negotiation?
Well, we're not looking at that. We have many countries that are coming to negotiate deals with us, and they're going to be fair deals. And in certain cases, they're going to be paying substantial tariffs. There'll be fair deals. As you know, I spoke this morning with the Prime Minister of Japan, and we had a very good conversation. They're coming. And I said, one thing, you're going to have to open up your country, because we sold no cars, like 0 cars in Japan, and they sold millions of cars into our country. With China, as you know, against my statement, they put a 34% tariff on above what their ridiculous tariffs were already. And I said, if that tariff isn't removed by tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're putting a 50% tariff on above the tariffs that we put on. So they've gone for years. They've become a rich country because of people, again, that were in the White House that allowed this to happen.
Okay, 2 really important indicators that came out of this comment. One, we might be in a trade war with China, and that will be very bad for markets and investors, and that could be really dangerous, and it's unclear how we get out of it, because we're very reliant on China, though China needs us too. 2, Trump wants more trade. I am increasingly confident of this, and I think that maybe that has something to do with the market rebounding. This statement follows what Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was saying, which is that Japan's coming to the table. China bad, Japan good. China won't negotiate, and we're in an escalating tariff situation. Japan good, we are negotiating. And what the Treasury Secretary said was that we are about to enter a new golden age of trade. So I've been saying for some weeks now. In fact, I asked this of the Treasury Secretary. It's unclear what the chief goal of the tariffs is. Is it leverage to lower trade barriers in other countries? Is it the reshoring of American manufacturing? Is it raising revenue? Any of those things are good, but they contradict each other. If you lower the barriers in other countries, you don't get the jobs or the rev. If you reshore American manufacturing, you also don't get the rev because you got the jobs, so you're buying stuff here. Which is it? I am increasingly confident Trump just wants better trade deals, but I think he wants more trade. I think that's what pitting Japan against China is about. I think that's what this language from the Treasury Secretary, the golden age of trade, is about. I think that's what this comment from the Oval Office is about. I think he wants more trade. I think markets like more trade. Whether or not he can land the plane is a totally separate question, because as of now, we still haven't seen how this is going to play out, and it will probably play out over the course of weeks. But Trump levied tariffs on China. China responded with reciprocal tariffs. Trump said, if you don't get rid of those reciprocal tariffs, I'm going to levy a 50% tariff on top of everything I've already done. So we're in an escalating situation. I think the deadline he gave to China was noon today. So it could be the case that Trump wants more trade and doesn't get it because he can't land the plane. But at the very least, it appears that the chief goal of all of this is more trade. And markets like that. And maybe we just let Trump cook. And maybe we stop being panicans, okay? Because really no one has lost any money yet. Until you panic and sell. Then you have lost money. Meanwhile, the Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, goes on CNN and has some great news that also might buoy the markets. We'll get to that in 1 second. First, I want to tell you about Hillsdale College. Go to hillsdale.edu/Knowles. Have you ever come across someone who says capitalism is evil? Probably you have, at least in a video online or on TV, or maybe just talking to someone at your school. What was your reaction if you did? When did capitalism become such a hot button issue? It seems like people have very strong opinions about it, but they don't really know anything about it. Well, luckily, if you're looking to expand your knowledge and horizons on a broad range of topics, not just capitalism, but including capitalism, then check out Hillsdale College, which is offering more than 40 free online courses. Totally free, one of the premier institutions of higher learning in the country. You can learn about the U.S. Constitution, explore stories from the book of Genesis, discover the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, even the history of the ancient church. And they have their new course, Understanding Capitalism. In just 7 lectures, you will learn about the role of profit and loss, how human nature shapes our economy, and why capitalism depends on private property rights, the rule of law, and freedom. Right now, go to hillsdale.edu/Knowles to enroll in the course, Understanding Capitalism. No cost. It is easy to get started. hillsdale.edu/Knowles, Knowles, to enroll for free. hillsdale.edu/Knowles. Now, on the question of economics, we turn to the Agriculture Secretary, who had this to say about the tariff plan.
I think we'll see in short order really positive outcome from this. We already have 50 countries that have come to the table over the last few days, over the last weeks, that are willing and desperate to talk to us. We are the economic engine of the world, and it's finally time that President Trump, stood up for America.
Okay, so this number is important too. 50 countries coming to the table, because it helps us to make sense of the way the tariffs were rolled out in the first place. Many people, first, there's some people who just hate tariffs. Forget about them. They're not caught up to speed on what Trump campaigned on and what Americans voted for. Some people like tariffs, but they say this was rolled out poorly because Trump should have been more targeted. So Trump's levying tariffs on what? The McDonald and Heard Islands? What's he going to do? He's going to tariff penguins? There aren't even any people there. That's crazy. It's too broad. It seems indiscriminate. The way that they arrived at the tariff number was what? Taking the trade deficit and dividing it by like 4 or something? No, it wasn't quite that simple. But it was a blunt equation that gave them the number for the tariffs. Why were they so broad and blunt about this? Well, now the fog is beginning to clear. And you're saying, okay, maybe it really wasn't about 50 countries, 100 countries, 150 countries. 50 countries are coming to the table. We're going to renegotiate our trade deals. It's going to be great. We're going to declare victory over that. But China's not coming to the table. So what you're seeing play out now, I think, is exactly what the people who were calling for targeted tariffs, pretty much only on China, were asking for in the first place. It's all a little bit, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. He said, it seems kind of like shiny keys. He's a military guy, and he said, if I was ever dropping a bomb on someone, I'd kind of dangle shiny keys over here. So I'd go, I'd drop a bomb over here, then everyone goes over there, they leave their homes, and then I can get them. I don't hit the target immediately in the first place. I play it out a little bit over time. I get people to come to where I want them to come. I set the conversation in terms that are favorable to me. That might be what Trump's doing here. Because if 50 countries go down to maybe just a flat 10% tariff, if all the extra or punitive tariffs or reciprocal tariffs go away, now you're really just dealing in a situation with China. And do we forget, is our memory so short, that when we left off with Trump in the first term, right before COVID hit and the world shut down, Trump was engaged in a trade war with China and was doing a good job of it. He was winning the trade war. And then the Wu flu snuck out and everything went to pot, and then Biden became president. But is that just what this is all about? Is this just all about China? Increasingly seems that it is. Okay. Moving from the Agriculture Secretary, but sticking on women in politics, a woman has gone viral and even been featured on Good Morning America for crying about the end of her maternity leave.
So today is my last day of maternity leave, and I go back to work tomorrow. And I just feel like I haven't had enough time with them. I know I got longer than a lot of women get with 3 months, but it just doesn't, I just don't feel ready.
I had a very high-risk pregnancy because they shared a placenta. They were 5.5 weeks premature. We were in the NICU for several weeks, so you kind of feel a little robbed of that postpartum experience, and that does not get accounted into your maternity leave.
It's just like such an abrupt change that you're with your babies all the time, and then you pick them up from daycare and you might just get a few hours.
I just felt like so disconnected to them. I would get emotional. I would just like cry, like they're gonna forget me.
Okay, I get it. I have a pity sandwich for this woman that is stuffed with a no sympathy cold cut. It is a pity sandwich. I immediately feel bad for her, and in the end I feel bad for her. But there is a little bit of no sympathy stuffing in there. Because my first question is, why is this woman on TV? Why is this woman putting her children first on social media, then on national television? Not a great start to motherhood. Don't do that. Don't put your kids on social media. Don't use your kids to become a big celebrity. Don't do it. They didn't ask to be famous. I get it. They're not going to resemble what they look like right now for very long. But just, come on, cut it out. You want to be with your kids? Be with your kids. Now, I do feel bad for her. I feel bad for a lot of mothers who they go through this pregnancy and it's extremely physically taxing. It's emotionally taxing. They're postpartum. They want to be with their kids. And they got to go back to the widget factory. And they got to go work for Mr. McGillicuddy and make widgets and get a paycheck that they can give to their husband so that their husband can hire some other woman to raise their babies while his wife is at work. It seems crazy. It seems so inefficient. It seems so inhuman. This woman says, I want to be with my kids more, but I got to go back to my stupid job. That's true. Now, the little no sympathy stuffing in here is, you can live on one income. You can live on one income. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying you can maintain your quality of life that you have now. But you can. Your grandparents had things that were not as nice as you do. So how can, and I'm not just speaking abstractly here. I am speaking with some knowledge because I am part of a rather traditional community, okay? And I know plenty of people who do it. But if you want to live on one income today, it means you're not going to live right downtown, probably. It means you're going to live a little outside of the city. Maybe more than a little. Maybe you're going to live an hour outside the city. And you're not going to have the nice big McMansion. You're going to have a starter home, maybe. And you're not going to have 2 cars. What do you mean not have 2? Everyone has to have his own car today. Well, your grandparents didn't have 2 cars, probably. Maybe your parents didn't have 2 cars. Maybe you have 1 car. And maybe you don't go on the big fancy vacation every year. And maybe you don't have all the latest gizmos. And maybe you're not subscribed to every streaming service. And maybe you're not getting Uber Eats every night. And many of the creature comforts that define our age, you will not have. But you can live on one income. Okay, we are the richest country in the history of the world. If everyone else can do it for all of history, we can do it too. But I don't want to just sound callous or disconnected or anything like that, because I understand why people don't want to give up the creature comforts. It's not just that we're indulgent. It's not just that we've become accustomed to luxury. It's that we are mimetic creatures. We imitate each other and we imitate each other's desires. And so it's not enough to say, oh, look, you give up your extra car and your Netflix and your vacations and your new clothes and your Uber Eats and going out. Because if all of your friends are doing all of those things, you're going to be missing out. And it's actually going to affect your friendships and it's going to affect your social life. And people really do try to keep up with the Joneses. That's not just a vice of human nature. That is how we behave. That's actually a key feature, not just a bug of human nature. We imitate each other. So I get it. It's very difficult. And I wish that we had, the libs want to have maternity leave for 3 months or something. Conservatives want to have maternity leave for 2 months. I think we should have maternity leave for 18 years. Now that requires reshaping the incentives, financial incentives provided by our government. Maybe it means we need a family policy closer to what we have in Hungary, where mothers don't pay taxes after they have a few kids. Now you'd say, well, if the mother's not working at the widget factory, she's not going to have an income anyway. Well, maybe we reconfigure how families are paying taxes. Maybe we incentivize mothers to stay home if they want to do it. Don't forget, this was a big feature of the debate over feminism between Betty Friedan, the American feminist, and Simone de Beauvoir, the French feminist. Betty Friedan, very American, said, we need people to have a choice. Women should be able to choose if they want to work or not. Simone de Beauvoir said no. If women have the choice to stay home and raise their kids and keep a home, too many women will take that choice. Most of them will take it. And we can't have that because then they won't be liberated. So maybe we need to give women that choice. But you could do it now. If you really want to do it, you don't need to cry on TikTok and Good Morning America. You can do it. No one's saying it's easy, but it's possible. Now, speaking of perverse financial incentives in our day and age, big story out of the reform of the federal government and religion. Catholic Charities has suspended its deal with the U.S. government. And this is great news, great news. Catholic Charities has had a 50-year relationship with the federal government. What is Catholic Charities? I mean, there are a lot of Catholic charities, right? I support certain Catholic charities, but I'm talking capital C, capital C. Catholic Charities, trademark over the S, is an organization from the Catholic bishops run by a bunch of NGO workers that facilitates mass migration. That's really what it's about. It's about bringing millions and millions of people into the United States in contravention of our most basic laws. Archbishop Timothy P. Broglio, who's the president of the U.S. Council of Catholic Bishops, said, "The bishop's decision came after the federal government suspended our cooperative agreements to resettle refugees. The drastic reduction of these programs forced us to reconsider the best way to serve the needs of our brothers and sisters seeking safe harbor from violence and persecution." And he wrote that for the Washington Post. Why a Catholic would write for, even read the Washington Post is another matter. This might be presented as the Trump administration attacking Catholics or something. 99% of faithful Catholics are thrilled about this because 99% of faithful Catholics have had the number of Catholic charities for many years now and recognize that there are better places to put our money. If Catholic Charities had a deal to stop abortion, let's say it wasn't a deal to facilitate mass migration of economic migrants from Venezuela. Let's say instead it was a deal to stop babies from being murdered, a much more important issue than moving economic migrants around some borders. If the Catholic Charities had a deal to do that, we would all be all for it. But that's not really what Catholic Charities does. Catholic Charities acts as an NGO that is affiliated with the Catholic Church, but for which Catholic theology and tradition is not the most important thing. And the federal government, you, the taxpayers, are not going to fund that anymore. I'm a Catholic, and I don't give my money to Catholic Charities, okay? I give it to other organizations associated with the church. I don't give it to Catholic Charities. So why should you, the taxpayer, maybe you're a Protestant, maybe you're a Jew, maybe you're a Muslim, I don't know. Why are you funding this? Also, why are you funding this when it's just about resettling migrants? It's not, that's good. This is a good reform of the federal government. Maybe we have a reform of Catholic Charities too. Sounds fine by me. Now, as we talk about all these things, I want to tell you about Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. As Doge continues to cut the fat from decades of bloated government spending and corruption, Pure Talk, the cell phone company that I use, is cutting the fat from the wireless industry. That's right. Pure Talk says, I don't think so, to $100 a month cell phone plans. That's just wasteful. It's irresponsible. Instead, Pure Talk is offering America's most dependable 5G network at America's most sensible prices. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot for just $35 a month. Best part? Right now, you will get a free 1-year membership to DailyWire Plus. That includes access to the entire library of DailyWire Plus movies, documentaries, uncensored, ad-free daily shows, kids programming, and, of course, your free Leftist Tears tumbler. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. Right now, go to puretalk.com/Knowles. Switch to Pure Talk at puretalk.com/Knowles. Get a year of Daily Wire Plus for free with a qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans. Speaking of social issues, this is a providential news story. I'm at Pittsburgh right now. I'm at the University of Pittsburgh. They didn't blow me up this time. Great news. I'm here. No char, no ash on me. It's good, too, because I wore a suit that I think is made of recycled bottle caps or something. This is one of my least expensive suits. Highly flammable, but no one threw a bomb at me. No fireworks at the building like they did last time. So the topic of my speech was political violence. How political violence is not exclusively a left-wing phenomenon, but it is distinctly a left-wing phenomenon. And the speech is on my YouTube channel and Yaf's YouTube channel. You can go check it out right now. I encourage you to do so. It's a good time. As I'm giving this speech, there's an article published in the Federalist, hat tip to MD Kittle here, and it's about a report that came out of the Network of Contagion Research Institute and Rutgers University. 55% of leftists say that murdering Trump would be justified. 55%, a clear majority. This was a large part of my thesis last night, which I wrote before that report came out. But I just knew it. You know, I hate to say I told you so. Anybody could see it. Democrats, not just the crazy fringe, but all the way up to mainstream Joe Biden as president, justified the murder of President Trump for years. So is it any wonder that 55% of leftists would say murdering Trump is justified? It's 31 to 38% of respondents said that it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk and Trump. But the numbers were totally skewed by the leftists. 48% said it would be justified to murder Musk. It would be justified to murder the electric car manufacturer Rocket Man, who is advising the president on how to make the executive branch more efficient. For that, for doing this great service to America, which has great precedent going back at least to Woodrow Wilson with the Bureau of Efficiency, up through FDR, Truman, Reagan, Al Gore. Al Gore eliminated 250,000 federal jobs and consolidated some 800 agencies when he was vice president. But when Elon does it, he should be murdered. And then 55% say Trump should be murdered. I think, and this was my thesis last night, if you want the whole lecture, you can go check it out. I think that political violence is a feature and not a bug of liberalism. And the reason that I think that is, one, we just see the enormous number of violent left-wing incidents. The handful of right-wing kooks who commit violence pale in comparison to the consistent left-wing violence. The Republicans, mainstream Republicans, never endorse the kook who commits some violence on the right. They disavow it. No Republicans are defending the Oklahoma City bombing, okay? Meanwhile, on the left, mainstream leftists are defending BLM as they murder dozens of people and burn the cities down. They're defending Antifa in some cases. They're bailing the rioters out of jail. This is going all the way up to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, staffers for Joe Biden. So you can see it with your own eyes. And I think the reason for that is this paradox at the heart of liberalism, which is that liberalism begins by making an idol out of individual human reason. It exalts individual human reason above all else and excludes things like history, morality, religion, duty, all the rest of it. Just individual human reason. We're going to recreate the world anew. Some people see things that are and ask why. I see things that never were and say, why not? The problem is, the moment that you untether or you liberate your human reason from morality, history, religion, all the things that keep the appetites in check, then the appetites are going to start to take over. And all of a sudden, you're going to be pulled into ever more absurd fantasies. So how do we see this? You have the classical liberals who generally defend negative liberty, the freedom of speech from prosecution, freedom from the government confiscating my firearms. The more progressive liberals embrace positive liberties. So they say, we need the freedom of self-actualization. You're not really free if you don't have the necessities of life. So we need the liberties and the rights of welfare and food and healthcare and a universal basic income, and the list goes on. But the progressive liberals go further. They'll say, and so the irony is, the political project that starts out by making an idol out of human reason, by exalting human reason, destroys human reason. Because there's nothing left to hold the appetites in check, and the appetites devour human reason. And so, if you get to the absurdity point in liberalism, and I think we're there, if you get to the point in liberalism where we can no longer even agree on the meanings of words, we can no longer agree on the meaning of the word woman, then the only way to conduct politics is through brute force. Because you can't persuade anyone, you don't even speak the same language anymore. You have denied reason and objective truth. You've sacrificed that in favor of your own personal and absurd desires. So the only thing left to do is club the other guy on the head. And that's I think, where we are. I think 55% say murdering Trump is justified. It's because they can't make reasoned arguments. They can't persuade people. They will not subdue their desires to their reason. So the only thing left to do is pop the guy off. Expect that number to go up. Expect that number to go up as liberalism advances. Now, the culture, I think, is on our side. That's why we won the Electoral College in a landslide. That's why we won the popular vote. That's why we won the House and the Senate. We have the Supreme Court, and now I feel confident that we have the Supreme Court because you've been hearing for weeks from Panicans, a lot of Panicans out there, you've been hearing for weeks that President Trump's deportation policy is illegal, unconstitutional. He's denying due process to the poor, face-tattooed, Satan-worshiping gangsters. He invoked the Alien Enemies Act from 1798, and that, he can't do that. That's a really old law. Don't you know laws have expiration dates? I didn't know that. I don't know. I didn't go to law school, but I don't think they have expiration dates. In fact, I think the older a law is, the longer it's been around, probably the sturdier it is. But anyway, we're told that's unconstitutional, terrible, awful. Well, the Supreme Court just ruled on it. Chief Justice John Roberts has issued an order blocking a previous order from a district court judge that demanded that a deported Salvadoran national, a foreigner, an illegal alien, be returned to the U.S. So remember, Trump just enforces the most basic aspects of our law. The libs lose their minds because they want an open border. They want to flood the country with foreign nationals because they think it'll give them an advantage. Some two-bit district court judge comes out and says, you need to turn the planes around. You're not allowed to deport the face-tattooed, Satan-worshiping, dealing gangsters. And what do the libs say? They say, you must listen to the random district court judge. It doesn't matter, President Trump, that you control the executive branch. It doesn't matter that you were elected in a landslide. It doesn't matter. No, we have a government in this country that is ruled by a random district court judge. Is that? And they would say, this is what we need for checks and balances. This is what we need for separation of powers. I said, well, if we have checks and balances and separation of powers, that doesn't mean judicial supremacy. Certainly doesn't mean supremacy from some random district court. He's not even an appellate judge. He's certainly not a Supreme Court justice. Well, anyway, the Supremes have ruled. We get to deport the gangsters. It's cool. District court judges, they got to sit back down. The Panicans, they're never going to recover from this. Trump's policy will proceed apace. That's very good news. You know, the establishment media, they think that you are too dumb to see through their lies. They twist the narrative. They manipulate the headlines. They bury the truth. We know better. At the Daily Wire, we bring you the facts. No filter, no spin. Then you get in on the conversation. Join the chat live during our daily shows, 100% uncensored, ad-free, packed with the members of the Crème de la Crème. Our producers are in the daily chat to add to the conversation. That's actually one of the downsides of joining. But please don't let that stop you. Get the news the way that it should be, honest, fearless, without a lib agenda. Your voice matters. Be part of it. Join now at dailywire.com/subscribe. My favorite comment yesterday is from Patrick Ogin 4553, who says, I have lost most of my money at the gas pump. This is the other reason that the Panicans don't get it. This is the other reason that the chattering class, political elites, and the economic analysts don't understand how Trump could implement the tariffs, the market could tank, and his approval rating could go up 4 points. They don't understand that for most people, stock market fluctuations mean nothing. And stock market, even massive 40-year high collapses in the stock market pale in comparison to the price of gas going down. And by the way, as a result of this tariff policy and the market volatility, the price of oil has dropped down and the price of gas is coming down. And that's going to matter a lot more to a lot more people. You might say, well, what about me? What about me with my 401k? Yeah, I'm not downplaying it. It could be bad. But unless you are in retirement right now, and really even more specifically, unless you are in retirement and overexposed in equities in retirement, which you should not be, and a good financial planner would discourage you from doing that, for the vast majority of people, even who are invested in the stock market, none of this matters right now. Be cool. Let it play out. Don't re-register with the Panican political party. We'll see how it goes. Because while we're hearing that the Democrats are going to clobber us in the midterms and Republicans are going to get blown out of the water, then I look to the Democrat thought leaders. Not just the kooks, I'm not just straw manning. I look to the most normal, mainstream, moderate Democrats there are. I look to guys like the Raging Cajun James Carville, whose big pitch right now is that Republicans are Nazis.
Do you know what's going to happen? Do you know how this ends? Do you know these collaborators with the country is going to feel toward collaborators with this regime? Maybe you need to go in history and see what happened in August of 1944 after Paris was liberated. They didn't take very kindly to the collaborators. No. It was not a very pretty sight in the streets of Paris. I'm not saying that these people should be placed in pajamas and have their heads shaved, march down Pennsylvania Avenue and spit out. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that did happen.
So James Carville learned a new word. He learned the word collaborator. That's why he said it 3 times in the span of about 15 seconds. And this is the really nuanced, big-brain Democrat take. Hey, James, you ran the Clinton presidential campaign, like the original one, in the 90s, and you've been such an important figure. You're one of the cooler heads that prevails when the wackos from the Democrats, take over. So, what's your messaging? After the Democrats lost the White House and the popular vote and the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court, what's your messaging? I think y'all a bunch of Nazis. I think y'all when I would say and about bang them little bum 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 boom bum 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 bum. What? Say that again. Basically, I would say my million voter. You go to the voter, you tell them you're a bunch of Nazis. We're gonna shave your head, march you down Pennsylvania Avenue. We're gonna shoot you. 55% American on the left say that we can murder Donald Trump. We're gonna murder you too because you're Nazi, you big fat Nazi. Hitler drank water. You drinking water? You're a Nazi. Oh, okay. Never mind then. Great. We have nothing to worry about at all. If that is the best messaging the Democrats can come up with. Come on, this is supposed to be the best week for them. Markets tanking, Trump's on the ropes, the walls are closing in. And the best they've got is the only line they had throughout the 2024 campaign, the 2020 campaign that they've had for years. Trump's a Nazi. That makes me feel really good. Why is this the best line they have? I'm not just making fun of James Carville. I'm making fun of him a little bit, but I'm not calling him, I don't think he's a dummy. I think he's got pretty good political instincts. But what else are they going to talk about? Are they going to talk about trade? What's their opinion of trade? Some of the Democrats love free trade. Some of the Democrats hate free trade. It was the Democrats who were calling attention to the problems of globalist free trade before many Republicans were. So which is, they just can't talk about it. Are they going to talk about it? Are they going to talk about Israel-Palestine? Well, do they like Israel or do they like Palestine? Seems like the Democrats are totally split on that issue. Are they going to talk about, golly, I don't know, any other war? I guess Ukraine they're kind of united on, but they know Ukraine is a political loser. Are they going to talk about what? What are they going to talk about? They have nothing. So the only thing they can say is Trump's a Nazi. And if we don't head for a global depression, I think the guy's sitting in a pretty good spot right now. One thing that could threaten the Trump administration and the new golden age is the prospect of war with Iran? Trump broached this question yesterday in the Oval Office with Benjamin Netanyahu. Here's his answer.
We're having direct talks with Iran, and they've started. It'll go on Saturday. We have a very big meeting, and we'll see what can happen. And I think everybody agrees that doing a deal would be preferable to doing the obvious. And the obvious is not something that I want to be involved with, or frankly, that Israel wants to be involved with if they can avoid it. So we're going to see if we can avoid it. But it's getting to be very dangerous territory. And hopefully those talks will be successful. And I think it would be in Iran's best interest if they are successful. We hope that's going to happen.
America has zero interest in a war with Iran. Well, I'm not saying we don't have interests. We have interests everywhere on earth. But the American people who elected Trump with the popular vote do not want war with Iran. Full stop. Period. It ain't the Bush era anymore. In fact, the Republican view on war in the Middle East is largely shaped by the Bush era. Nobody wants it. However, America does still have interests. And so I think Trump's answer here is very good. He's saying, look, we're going to leave open the possibility that we engage in some kind of war with Iran because we do not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon, because if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, we're very likely going to be dragged into war anyway, and it's going to be a worse war. But we want to strike a deal. And there are going to be hawks on the right, the neocons or the Wilsonian spread democracy all over the world or whatever. They are going to say this isn't tough enough. We got to get even tougher on Iran. I think Trump's via media here, I think his middle ground is very, very good. You have to recognize that the United States has alliances. He's sitting next to Netanyahu. Netanyahu hates Iran. Iran is the number one enemy of the state of Israel. But the state of Israel has different interests than the United States. We're not the same country. We're allies, but we're not the same country. So he's sitting there next to Netanyahu. He says, look, we're going to be tough. We're going to back our allies. We're going to pursue American interests. Take Israel off the table for a second. The United States does not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. We're going to pursue our interests, but we would rather strike a deal. For anyone who thinks that Trump is being too tough on Iran here, I would say grow up. America has strategic interests everywhere in the world, certainly in that tough neighborhood. But for the people who say that Trump is not being tough enough, there is zero appetite in the United States for war with Iran. Nobody but nobody, we're talking less than 1% of people probably, would celebrate if America went to war with Iran. And I think Trump knows that. And while Trump is fighting political wars on multiple fronts, a once in 130 year plus tariff regime and a reorganization of the executive branch, a massive reform of the executive branch led by Elon Musk, and massive transparency and declassification, and a major tax bill that Trump has to get over the finish line, and this and that and this and that. We don't want to be dealing with war with Iran. Okay, so maybe we strike a deal. That would be good. That's what we want. Also, I'll just leave you on this note from the Trump Oval Office meeting with Netanyahu. Trump reaffirmed, lest anyone has forgotten, that man wants to build a casino in Gaza.
For the Times of Israel, the IDF is fighting again in the Gaza Strip. I myself might be called up in a month. Do you think that's the way to pressure Hamas to get to a deal? And do you think blocking humanitarian aid is also an effective pressure?
Well, you know how I feel about the Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate. And I think it's something that we would be involved in, but, having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing. Because right now, all it is for years and years, all I hear about is killing and Hamas and problems. And if you take the people, the Palestinians, and move them around to different countries, and you have plenty of countries that will do that, and you really have a freedom zone. You call it the freedom zone, a free zone, a zone where people aren't going to be killed every day. That's a hell of a place.
We call it the Freedom Zone, then we're going to call it the Trump Gaza International Hotel and Golf Course and Casino. I I love Trump's innovation here. I love Trump's audacity, and I even like his broadly imperial understanding of geopolitics. I don't think there's much appetite for this either. So he keeps floating it out there. Netanyahu's not even on camera during that. He's like, wait a second, I want Gaza. Why are you taking Gaza? Give me Gaza. No, it's ours, Bibi. It's ours. We're going to build beautiful blackjack tables all around Gaza. It's going to be beautiful and make a lot of money and be really great. I don't think there's a ton of appetite here. So I think also, because I'm not a Panican, I don't know about you, I hear these things. I see them as chips being moved around in a casino. I see them as negotiating tactics. We're not disconnected from the potential war with Iran. And we see where it lands. I'm a panicant though, baby. You can't get me to panic. Today is Tee Tuesday. The rest of the show continues now. You do not want to miss it. Head on over to DailyWire Plus. Use code Knowles at checkout. You get 2 months free on all annual plans.